Thank you for clicking on the video. Welcome back to the channel. Y'all, I'm just so ready to wrap this up. I'm so ready to just... I got one more. And we done. I got one more and then I'm done. Well, reviewing 2 today. I'm not finna... I can't sit here all day talking about Dahmer. I cannot. But we're here for episode 8. Do I sound winded? I ran up the stairs. Anyway, let's get to the review. Mr. Dahmer, we see that he is finally allowing himself to cry after he hears the details about Jeffrey's murders. He pulls it together, and then he goes and asks the detectives, can I go see him? They allow it. Goes back there, and they bring him in the shackles. You know, Lionel just can't take it. This boy in the shackles. Mr. Dahmer, you know, looking at him with pity and all of that. And he gives him a hug, and Jeffrey talking about, sorry, Dad. Sorry. That's all you got to say? I'm sorry, Dad. Anyway, just sit down, okay? Because it's not okay. It's not, he's very, you know, Jeffrey don't care. Jeffrey is, this is just like another Wednesday. This is just another Wednesday. He asking about grandma's AC. You know, did you fix grandma's AC? What we doing, Jeffrey? Like, do you realize you finna go up the river? Making all this damn small talk. It's not time for the small talk. It's not time for the small talk. But anyway, Mr. Dahmer, you know, he tells him, I didn't realize how sick you were. You know, like you need professional help. And he feels like he can still be treated. After all this. Treated for what, Lionel? Go to hell. Anyway, he talking about, I didn't raise you that way. It's like, Lionel only care about himself, honestly. Like, you done made us look bad. That's his whole thing. You know, he asking about, well, he's saying, you know, that this may, you know, think about what you've done to your grandmother, to your mother, to your brother. F y'all. What about what he did to the victims and their families? What about the victims, Lionel? Because it's really not about y'all. He asked him how this all got started. And, you know, Jeffrey is like, you know, I've been thinking about it. And I don't know. I remember when you used to take me to go find roadkill. Lionel say, oh, you not finna put this on me. You not finna put this on me. It was not me. It's not me. I didn't do this. He say it ain't on him. Don't be trying to drag me in all this. Whatever. He said that, you know, all he was doing was nurturing him, and, you know, it was something that, you know, he thought that his son was interested in. So, you know, finally, you know, now I can, you know, hone in on this at least, because it's a interest, because I guess before that, Jeffrey hadn't shown any interest in anything. I'm talking about I didn't teach you to do this. I didn't do this. Mr. Doback. Y'all know that's Mr. Doback from Step Brothers. Mr. Doback is doing a great job. He does some great acting, especially right here in this scene. He was doing some good acting. Anyway, Jeffrey's mom, she getting swamped by the press on her way into work. She's changed her name from Dahmer to Flint. And she done moved on with her life, you know, after abandoning her child. She done moved on. She's doing well, you know. Well, up until now, of course. Anyway, she goes to her office. She has a client in there. This person, you know, they were tested for HIV, and their test came back negative. And this man cries and cries, and so do I. And so do I. If you've been watching me for any amount of time, then you know when it comes to the AIDS epidemic, it hits me right here. because my mother lost both of her brothers to the AIDS epidemic. And so it really resonates. It's really sad. And so I was right there with you. I was right there with you, sir. I was right there with you, sir, because I know that the worry that he must have been doing and having, just waiting on those results. And she starts crying too. And he look up like, well, what you crying for? And she says, I'm just happy that you don't have to give your mother any bad news, because the news she just got. Because again, mama and daddy, they sitting around stewing on this like, what did we do wrong? Everything. Y'all did everything wrong. Y'all did everything wrong. See, mama, you was on 26 whatever, 26 prescription pills during your pregnancy. I'm sure before you got pregnant, while you were pregnant, after you were pregnant, you just been taking the pills. Ain't no telling how many pills she was. Well, I think she was well by the time. No, because they had David. So was you on pills with him too? She was on the pills. Okay, so that's one thing. And then daddy, every time they got into it, he was running out. And so that's why he don't like folks to leave him. Because, his parents weren't there. They were not there for him emotionally, like, at all. And then, later on in life, daddy want to start paying a little bit of attention. If we have to compare, he's the one that did the most for Jeffrey, I would say. He spent the most time with him because we ain't never seen him with his mama. She ain't want nothing to do with him. She wasn't fooling with him. And so now y'all sitting around like, what did we do? How did we get here? You know how you got here. You know how. Don't play with me, girl. Anyway, Lionel's been up all night. His wife, she comes in worried about him because he hasn't been sleeping. Like, he ain't been going to sleep at all. Been up for the past 5 nights. She thinks that he should, maybe get some sleeping pills or something. And he was like, pills? That's what got us here. He gonna blame her because she was on all them pills, when she was pregnant with him. She didn't give him a chance. She didn't give him a fighting chance. And then, of course, his wife is like, listen, we can't blame her. We can't blame her. He says, why the fuck not? Why can't I? It's her fault. But it's not just her fault. It's not just her fault. Anyway, he says that she was never a mother, and, she never even held him. She scared the shit out of him. Then she got in her car and she left. Okay, but you left too. You left too. Because he's talking about she left him that summer. The new wife say, well, where were you that summer? With you, girl. He was with you, right? I feel like that's where he was at because he came back with you from after the summer. Both of y'all left him. And you ain't do nothing either, stepmama, because you, as a stepmama, you just gonna sit by and let your man do that to his child? That's what you gonna let him do? You gonna sit by and condone it? Anyway, Lionel, he's just beside himself. And then he shares with her that he's also had thoughts of destruction and murder. He used to build bombs. He brought a bomb to school one time, but ended up ditching it. He didn't go through with it. He said he's had fantasies like him as well. There was this neighborhood girl, and he wanted to hypnotize her and get her to do whatever it is, he wanted her to do. He ain't go into detail whatever that was, but it was, it was going to be something sinister. He said he would sit in church and think about how he, could kill somebody. And he had nightmares about it for a while. And she's like, but you didn't do any of it. She's so, girl, okay. You just loyal, I guess, because, girl, run for the hills. Run for the hills. What you mean? You're not finna just tell me all this and then are we just gonna move on with life? Excuse me? Because, he's worried about his genes because Jeffrey is half of him and he feels like he got that half. She tells him his genes are good. Your other son is a good boy, right? And he's like, yeah, you're right. he's a good boy, wouldn't you say? We don't know nothing about David. We do know David changed his name, though. Right on. Right on. As you should, David. Move on with your life. Who? That ain't me. I don't know nothing. I don't know those people. I don't know nothing about it. Mr. Dahmer, he done pulled up back. I think he's showing up to his mama house. And the feds are swarming. They all over. And he runs in the house. Of course, they're like, you can't go in there. You can't go in there. He go in there anyway. And his mama, she's, a bit out of sorts because now she has dementia. She hollering for Jeffrey to come downstairs. They're telling them you have to leave because this is a crime scene. Your son killed people on this property. Okay, remember that? So, yeah, you got to get out. And he's like, let me just put her upstairs in her room, please. So they let him take her on upstairs, and she still steady. Jeff, come down here. Jeff, come down here. Girl, Jeff locked up in the prison where he need to be. Anyway, he goes in there and he just plays cards with his mama. She's calmed down now, and while they search the house, that's what they do. He just plays cards. Jesse is now doing a march, with the people of Milwaukee, and Tony's mother leading the march. We see that he's speaking to the masses, and he tells them, I'm there to call for accountability. In the audience, we see Tony's mother, Ricky Rhyme, and Tracy. He's telling them, too many people have turned a blind eye, and they have got away with it for far too long. But we have an ally in the chief over here. And he's going to launch a thorough investigation into what went wrong. A thorough investigation. They always talking about, we going to launch a thorough investigation. Okay, investigate these because you lying. You lying. Don't play in my face, people. Anyway, he brings up the situation with the police returning. Is his name pronounced Karnat? Lord. It's episode 8 and I still ain't got the name right. Forgive me. Like, I'm not, being xenophobic or nothing. You got to really disclaimer these days, because the folks will drag that ass. Y'all like to tussle. So I got to throw disclaimers out there all over the place just so y'all know I'm not the one. I'm not one of those. Anyway, he tells them, let me be clear, after saying what the chief gonna do. Let me be clear, chief. We're not content to simply just listen to the words that y'all be saying, words like healing and cooling down and coming together. Those are all code words, which mean we're going to sweep this under the rug. I said, and you know what? Today, Jesse, today, we still got to say this today. He tells them we ain't going to rest until, the empty words are replaced with decisive action. Amen. We not, still not. Anyway, the officers that returned the child back to Jeffrey, they get called in to speak to the chief. And, they in there, we didn't do nothing wrong. He tell, he bringing up the jokes, all of their racist jokes and what they did. He reminds them of everything they did, runs it all down. And they talking about, well, whose side are you on? Excuse me. He talking about, it's not about sides. I got the whole community on my back. I got the commissioner on my back. I got the mayor on my back. I got the people down my throat about this. I got to punish y'all. It just is what it is. And he tells them that they're on paid leave until the investigation is over. I said, paid leave? It was supposed to be unpaid, but okay, chief, don't play with me. Then one of them turn around before he leave, and he tells him, our union rep's gonna take care of this. You'll be long gone and we'll still be here. We can't fire y'all. Okay, whatever. That's why we get folks to do what we need them to do. Anyway, Tracy is doing an interview. I think he on Geraldo. And it's F. Geraldo too. You know, he done turn cold. Anyway, Mr. Dahmer and his lady, they're just sitting there watching in silence. Then there's this other victim that doesn't want to be seen or heard. You know, they choose to keep their voice and their face anonymous. And the person, I don't know, I feel like they might have been lying. I don't know. But anyway, they say that they met Jeffrey at his house, and they like, was any of the family there? Did you meet family? And he says, well, this person says that they did meet his stepmother. And Jeffrey told them that his dad had molested him. And Lionel was like, lies. And he, you know, turns the TV off. I'm like, we didn't get that. They didn't show us nothing about that. So don't be getting on TV lying. Because I feel like whoever that was lying. Which is why they didn't want their face shown. Because, I mean, we have seen all the victims. So who are you? Anyway, he turns the TV off. And then we see he takes some magazines to Jeffrey, you know, the Time magazine, all these magazines who are covering the story to show him, you know, what's being said about him. And, you know, Jeffrey like, oh, y'all can I keep these? I just want to read them. They like, absolutely not. So we throw them back on the table. So what do they say? And Jeffrey's daddy like, well, they saying you're the Milwaukee cannibal, Jeffrey. That's what they saying. People want you dead. And Jeffrey's like, well, I mean, me too. I mean, I want that too. Well, that's not possible because this is not, you know, a death penalty state. Ooh, I hope y'all ain't my stomach growl. I'm going to eat after this video. I ain't finna just, because I was just going to keep rolling, but I'm hungry. Anyway, his dad says that it's not going to do anybody any good to keep him, you know, locked up in prison. He needs to go to a hospital. You know, he needs psychiatric help. And so we about to just go with an insanity plea. And Jeffrey's like, but I'm not insane. I know what I did. And I just I really couldn't help myself. But I know what I did. And they're like, nah, we're going to go with an insanity plea because we done seen it work for somebody. I think that his name Ed Gee or something like that. Which is, I think, a real serial killer. But they, you know, run down what he did. And basically, he was like, it was, you know, to a T, similar, you know, patterns, you know, with cannibalism and dismemberment and, you know, all that crazy stuff. And they just telling him what he did. And and Jeffrey, because the man did a lot. Like, he had made bowls out of skull and had skulls on the post of his bed. I think that I feel like I know this person. Like, being the true crime fanatic that I am, like I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on who this is, but I think I know. You know, I think I know. It's giving Silence of the Lambs, you know. Anyway, after they tell him, Jeffrey talking about some, oh wow. It's crazy. He is so crazy. He's so crazy. Anyway, their point in all of this is that, you know, if he pleads insanity, then, you know, he won't have to spend the rest of his life in prison, but he can go to a hospital, you know, instead, and he'll be receiving treatment. And Jeffrey's like, you know what? I think I heard about this guy. He was in a comic book. And then the next scene, you know, his dad out there so upset. A comic book? They putting this in comic books? Yeah, if you was around that and you would know. I don't know where Jeffrey got that comic book, off the black market probably. Because I don't think they selling them in the stores. I don't think them in the stores, but ain't no telling how Jeffrey got a hold of a comic book like that. Anyway, the lawyer says that we're going to hold fast to this insanity defense. They're going to have to sit through the trial and everything, but they're going to lean in real hard on the insanity. We ain't going to believe it. So you can do that. You can lean in all you want to because the jury finds him legally competent anyway. And so that's out. Won't be no insanity plea. Anyway, his mama is in the peanut gallery when the judge is saying all of this. And she's sitting there with her arms folded when they adjourn. she leaves and she kind of makes eye contact with Mr. Dahmer, and he, you know, he's on her heels. So that's it? You just gonna leave like that? You're leaving again? Aren't you gonna take some responsibility? And she's like, aren't you gonna take some responsibility? And then now they arguing out there about who did what and who didn't do what. I mean, he was going in on her, just yelling like you're not in front of the capacity. You just gonna yell like that. Okay. They embarrassed themselves. You know, his wife had to get in the middle of them and all of that. Joyce, she got so much nerve. She done pulled up on one of Jeffrey's victims' house. I think his mama house. And, you know, first I apologize, you know, on behalf of my son for what he did. And grandma just like, why are you here? And she says, well, I was hoping I could speak to, you know, maybe his mother or father. And, you know, to ask, oh, no, his mother or, you know, her. She's perfect because she's grandma. She want to know. Because when they do return, they're gonna be doing the impact statements. And so she's stopping by to see if they'll say a little something in Jeffrey's favor. That lady was like, personally, you was supposed to snatch her. You was supposed to snatch her. You was supposed to snatch her, or you was supposed to just slam your door. Like, why are you still standing there entertaining her? I don't know. See, she knew she had the right one. Grandma, you know, grandma, probably a good Christian woman. And, you know, we're just forgiving as a people anyway. And so she could see from her perspective, you know, why she would even be there doing that in the first place. Because it's her baby. It's her child. I don't give about none of that. About none of that. Ooh, she had the right one with grandma. But anyway, grandma turned it down anyway. Like, I get all that, but it's time for you to listen to somebody else's 2 cents. It's time for you to listen to somebody else's, just, you know, we not finna do that. Talking about speak on his behalf. Girl, what? You got a lot of nerve. Anyway, we start the impact statements. Oh gosh, y'all. I've seen these, you know, the real life ones. I feel like that one was loud. Anyway, maybe if I drink, you think if I drink coffee, it'll stop growling? I feel like that's gonna make it worse. That was good. Anyway, we start the impact statements, and the Laotian family. Somebody corrected me too, and I wish I had it down here. I should have wrote it in the notes so I could pronounce it correctly every time that I came across it in the notes. I'm gonna do that for the next one. Anyway, the Laotian family goes first. Laotian. Wow. Anyway, they go first. Then Tony's mother, and she sounds just like the lady. Just like her. Who that had me crying, child. And I mean, all of them are spot on. All of them. The guy that, you know, was kind of flustered with the glasses. He was the one, you know, saying thank you to all of you. And, you know, Jeffrey, I hope you go to hell and all of that. Like, that was... They studied and studied well. The actors I'm talking about. They studied and studied well because their depiction was spot on. Especially Rita's. Y'all know I was crying with hers because I said, girl, you brought all the emotion that she gave. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, then it's Jeffrey's turn to speak. I'm like, why you get to say something? But anyway. He get up there and say he never wanted freedom and he wanted death for himself. He didn't, you know, he didn't do any of this for, you know, reasons of hate. He didn't hate anyone. He realizes he's sick and evil. The doctors have told him about his sickness and he's made peace with it, blah, 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 blah. He done tried to make amends. No matter what he did, you know, he can't take back what he did. And so Oh, the least he could do was help them identify the bodies. While he's talking, Mr. Dahmer's just sitting there in a daze. Just sitting there. Dazed. Completely spaced out. Of course, in the end, Jeffrey is sentenced to 15 consecutive life sentences. And so, eat 1 life term for each victim. Y'all finally got it right. But it should have been a long time ago. You took too damn long. That's all I know. That's all the applause I'm giving. Because this was shoddy. I mean, piss poor, okay? Piss poor. Anyway, afterwards, you know, Glenda and her daughter, they're there. And this is her real daughter, by the way. And I mean, of course, we know that because they resemble each other. Like, it's very uncanny. They look so much alike. That's mama and daughter right there. Anyway, you know, they embrace one another. And, you know, Glenda's just like, we got his ass. We got his ass. I know that's right. Jeffrey, he visits with his father, you know, before they send him up the river. He's like, oh, sorry, Dad. I know. No, this isn't what you wanted. Just take him away. Just take him away. Lionel finally, you know, takes accountability for his neglect. He takes accountability for it all. And then shares with Jeffrey, you know, he had some of the same thoughts and all of that, blah, 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 blah. He tells him that he'll never leave him again. You know, the guard coming there like, all right, time to go. Time to go. He tells him he'll never leave again. Whatever. Joyce, we see her writing a letter to Jeffrey. And this is also a suicide note because while she's writing this letter, she's also creating a gas leak in the house. And she just sits there and, you know, falls asleep. Of course, it doesn't work. And Lionel is sitting, you know, at home writing a book. And he gets a call. His wife comes in there and she tells him that Joyce tried to commit suicide, you know, but she's okay. And he's like, oh, I'll call David in a little while. And then he just go back to writing. So you think you're going to just get a check behind it. Okay, whatever. Those incompetent officers are back on the job. They're back on the job. And they're, you know, everybody's giving them praises like they did something good. The black officer in there, when they get it reinstated, he's standing there like, these guys, they get back in. Had it been me, had it been you, they would have sold your ass up the river, sir. Absolutely, and you already know it. And he's their sergeant. You couldn't have said that. It couldn't have been your say so. Of course not. Of course not. Anyway, Jesse Jackson is riding in the car with his colleague, and he gets the call about them folk being back on the job. And the mayor, you know, he tells him, the mayor says that they're going to appeal the decision. You know, if that fails, we fight the next fight. And the next fight. And the next fight. And the next fight. And the next fight. It's like, because it's so many. It's so many. It's so many. Anyway, let me get off of here. I got another one to do. And I'm hungry. Hungry as hell. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's Call Me Busby, and I'll chat with you later. Peace and light.